Don't let the love and laughter of visiting loved ones during the holidays get off to a bumpy beginning. Our next guest has a holiday travel playbook.
And after logging nearly 15 years of weekly business travel, he's figured out all the hacks for navigating holiday travel. The author of How to Avoid Strangers on Airplanes, best title ever, Brandon Blewett joins us now appropriately from an airport SkyClub. Hi, Brandon. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me. And my flight's on time, which is always a wonderful, wonderful situation.
Fingers crossed. You may have just jinxed it, but I hope not. All right, we
Sure.
would like to run through your hacks for holiday travel one by one. Thank you so much for sharing them with us. The first one you say is dress for the journey, not the destination. Please explain.
Absolutely. So if you notice, I'm wearing a short sleeve polo and a quarter zip on top. And the reason for that is I'm flying from New York. I'm going back to Dallas. It's colder in New York than it is in Dallas. But as I'm going through the airport and getting on the plane, the temperatures can vary pretty wildly. So you always want to make sure that you're comfortable. So I think having layers is always an advisable way to dress for the travel journey.
And the travel journey can sometimes become unexpectedly longer than we'd like, whether there are delays, and sometimes if your baggage is lost. Do you have any other tips for dressing for the journey that may extend?
I think in addition to wearing layers, always keep at least one night's worth of a change of clothes and a bag that you can put underneath the seat in front of you. So that way you've at least got, some resources to get you through the 24 hours that it may take to have your bag delivered to your destination.
All right, Brandon, let's talk about traveling during Thanksgiving and avoiding that crowd surge. How do you do that?
It's impossible to avoid it completely, but statistically, the Wednesday before and the Sunday after are the busiest days at the airport. A lot of times now, schools are letting out for an entire week. So if you have some flexibility to fly Sunday or Monday, work remote from wherever you're traveling for the holiday, that may be a better option. And then if you're, someone that may have a family like mine, maybe by, Thursday or Friday, we're ready to say our sweet goodbyes because we've spent plenty of time together. The Thursday, the Friday, Saturday after Thanksgiving, they're generally going to be a little less crowded. And oftentimes, because they're not peak travel days, the fares are going to be more affordable.
Okay, what if we've already messed up on that front? What if we already have a flight that's on a Wednesday, just getting in right before? Do you have any advice when we are there elbow to elbow trying to get through TSA?
I think the best way to view air travel, and I think that we used to do this very well, is to view it as great people watching, right? I think that so often we get focused on this is where I am in line, this is where I need to be by X time, and everything's like an obstacle as if you're playing a Mario video game. Think of it as people watching. Think of it as a movie. You're going to see some really entertaining things, and if you have headphones with some good music in, it's actually a little enjoyable, and maybe you'll just learn to laugh a little bit about what's going on.
What a good attitude.
Yeah.
I remember I used to have to travel on Thanksgiving morning because I had to work Thanksgiving morning. Then we would go to Miami to see our family. We always, Brandon, had that plane to ourselves, and everybody was so nice. It was like a pre-Thanksgiving celebration on the plane.
Oh, nice.
And we still made it for even lunch at our destination. All right, let's move on to Christmas. You say keep gifts unwrapped.
Yes. There is nothing sadder to me than seeing somebody go through TSA and there's a gift inside, and to get into that item, they have to unwrap something that was carefully crafted. Obviously not by me, because it wouldn't look any better if it was, destroyed by TSA or not. But similarly, when your bags, you check your bags, they're not immune as well because they have to go through scanners. So while it may be tempting to wrap that gift at home, it's probably going to end up in your final destination. In a place where you can wrap it beautifully once you get it to where you're going.
Wow. Okay. You mentioned laughing it off, but that situation, if it happened to me, there would be no laughing, no smiling along the way. What are some other areas where people just need to lighten the load, not necessarily what they're carrying, but just what they may be mentally carrying into the airport?
I think one thing that I've learned to do traveling this much is if you make eye contact and smile, there's a lot of tension that people it immediately diffuses because they realize, hey, we're both human, we're both in this is a chaotic environment. And I would say 9 times out of 10, that is going to work and you're going to be able to get through the situation. If that doesn't diffuse it, I think the best thing to do is get away, right? You don't want to go viral and wind up on YouTube or TikTok, Instagram, whatnot. So sometimes it is just better to let the crew know and let the crew handle the situation because they are the trained professionals. And always thank the crew. Just always
Sure.
thank the crew.
You say, I mean, the title of your book is How to Avoid Talking to Strangers on Airplanes. How do you coexist peacefully with your seatmate or your plane mate?
I think you always take the cue of the person next to you. There's been times when I've met great people and chatted with them the entire flight. And the book is a play on words. It's about the stranger habits that we encounter. How do we avoid those? But I'd say take the cue. If someone has their nose in a book, their laptop open, their earphones in, and they look just very, very laser focused, I'm apt to leave them alone. And sometimes if it's a nervous flyer, sometimes being the person that they can chat with and have some small talk with, it's going to make the flight a little less scary for them. So just read the cues and go from there.
And can we all agree, look for AirPods, because people may not always notice if it's just a small little earbud or something, and maybe they
And
don't
you're
want to be
talking and they're
bothered.
not answering, and they're like, what's up with that person? Brandon, thank you so much for joining us. Safe travels to you.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure.
And you can grab a copy of his book, How to Avoid Strangers on Airplanes, Survival Guide for the Frequent Business Traveler today.
Still ahead, an early look at the buzz around what's sure to be